Again, thanks, Tom, for joining us today. Just want to kind of get a bit of detail on kind of your journey through golf, particularly your sort of coaching journey, and what's kind of led you to working abroad and working in Slovakia. So, kind of, where did you kind of start your journey, coaching wise and golf wise, and then how's it gone on from
So
there?
I think it's probably a good idea to go back to how I started to play, because that probably really would influence my approach to coaching as well. So I started to play golf properly about the age of 13. I joined golf club for the first time. Um, Before then, played a little bit. Like in school holidays, my granddad played. That's how I started. Uh, when I first started, had some lessons with my dad as well. And I had one I would say, very formative experience when I was probably about 11 years old. I went to a group training at a local golf club and driving range, and I could kind of play a little bit. I could hit it, I could get around the golf course, and the coach there at the time, I interlock grip and have done for as long as I can remember. And the coach there actually wanted me to change to overlap for no particular reason other than that was like his preference.
Hmm.
Uh, and then I couldn't hit the ball after that. And actually, I only went to maybe like two of those coaching sessions, and then I stopped. I didn't have any more coaching after that. I joined a golf club in year 2000 when I was like 13, and all I did then was I just played. I played a lot.
Hmm.
Um, and only for the reason that I really loved it. We had a group of juniors there. There were probably like 10, 12 kids similar age to me. We went there every day in the school holidays. We were kind of like the typical 18 holes in the morning, Diet Coke and a portion of chips at lunchtime, and then back out for 18 holes in the afternoon. And I had just learned to play by playing golf.
Hmm.
And then as I got to about the age of probably 17, because I maybe wanted to take it a little bit more seriously. But nothing crazy. And I had some lessons with a guy at a local driving range, and that's how I actually started to get into coaching, because he was like that kind of 17, 18 years old. He did like kids classes on the weekend, and he was like, "Oh, why don't you just come and help me? Why don't you just come and help me out with that?"
Okay.
Uh, and eventually, that kind of helping him out with that ended up being I just started to do it.
Hmm.
So, like, I look back and I think, like, what on earth could I probably have taught these kids when I was like 18 years old? Probably not very much. Um, but it was a good starting point. And actually, around that time, I actually went to university initially to study like business, economics, and marketing, and I didn't really enjoy it, and I dropped out, and then I went to Myerscough College to study golf management, because I was like, well, I didn't even know probably when I was at school that that would be like an option to go into the
Yeah.
into the golf industry. Um, and so while I was doing that, I was working at the driving range, and then the next probably opportunity I got coaching wise was we got approached by Preston City Council to do like a tri golf thing in schools. And the idea would be that I kind of split it between John, who was the pro, and I would do some of it as well. And we went to I remember we went to the first school, like 30 kids there, year 4, year 5. He did it together, and he was like, "No, you'll be all right. You can do all this on your own." Um,
Pass in
so
the back.
so that was quite an experience as well. Like looking back, a really good experience, because you learn a lot from trying to control basically a class of 20, 30 kids on your own.
Mhm.
Um, like I would go to the school, and the teachers would be like, "Oh, the golf guys here, great. Well, the kids are there. We're going to go into the staff room." And you dropped in at the deep end, really, like sink or swim. But I really enjoyed it. And actually, as I was finishing my degree, I actually got my first job, so in 2009, which was coaching full time at my school college. So the college had like a commercial part as well as a education part, because it had 9-hole golf course, indoor golf academy, gym, and all of that. So I actually worked on that side, and that's how I guess, really started coaching kind of full time.
Yeah.
So I enrolled to do PGA training then, and I also enrolled at the same time to do masters in sports coaching. So I was doing both concurrently. But in terms of my job role there, primarily junior coaching. When I started, there was maybe 3 kids that came to training regularly. By the time I left in a couple of years, we had like 35 signed up. So we did a monthly direct debit, which I think probably back in 2009, no one really did then. It was the kind of lots of people were running the kind of roll up, charge £5 a session. But we included the membership, we included coaching once or twice a week. They would pay a little bit more, and also competition entries as well in that. We also went through like the golf mark accreditation as well at the same time as part of that, and so really built up quite a nice little community there. And actually, I still see kids who started golf with me. One of the things I did, I got all the information for local primary schools because the college had all this on a database. I emailed all the head teachers. I said, we're going to do like a free golf day. Can I come round, chat to you? Took them leaflets out, and we ran this free golf day. It didn't have a huge amount of kids turn up, but there were enough that came from that then continued. And I still see now some of those kids, that's what, 15 years ago, still playing golf now. I see them at college in America. So, that's really nice to see looking back at the positive impact it had there. And then in 2011, I then kind of transferred within the college to working more on like the academic side and actually teaching on the degree in golf coaching and performance. So I actually took a bit of a step away from coaching full time, and I still coached a little bit in kind of my spare time at different golf clubs. I went to Switzerland one summer with the same guy that I used to work at the driving range, coaching at a summer school. So they had in the school, they'd do like English in the morning and then activities in the afternoon, one of which was golf. So, that was very good. And then in 2017, I moved to Slovakia, primarily because my now wife is Slovak.
Okay.
So it wasn't like we moved here basically with, I wouldn't say no, we didn't move here with nothing, because we actually have in Bratislava city centre, we actually have like a family-owned indoor driving range that was already here when we moved, but moved here no job offer or anything. We just kind of moved and work as a independent contractor basically at a golf club when we first arrived. And so now we've kind of built up over the last 7 years the business, which primarily now probably 90% of what I do is kids coaching.
How did you so did you have, when obviously you've gone there without a job opportunity, like you said, and you've kind of gone in on a whim, really? How did you have a vision of, is that what you wanted to do when you went within golf? I want to focus on juniors, I want to build a junior academy. Was that always kind of,
You know what? It's
something,
it's funny because I was listening to the episode you did with Thomas Devine. That's how you pronounce his surname, isn't it? Lad from Yorkshire. And he was saying like it takes a certain type of person to do kids coaching.
Yeah.
And I think he's right. And I think for whatever reason, whether I'm just a big kid at heart, I think I am that kind of person that's what I enjoy doing. Now, when we moved here, I kind of thought, well, I've been doing that for a long time. Maybe it would be nice to kind of pivot away from that a little bit. But then eventually when we first moved here, it's like, well, this is a big opportunity here. And for anybody that maybe gets the opportunity to go abroad, I would say do not undervalue the fact that if you're from the UK, being a native English speaker and also being a member of British PGA, I think both of those things in certain countries would stand people in very good stead, before people even come in through the door. Because like from my perspective, for the parents, they really want their kids to practice their English, to have conversations with a native English speaker. And so before they even consider even the golf side of it as well. So
to build it up then, did you kind of do a similar thing in terms of going into schools out
Not
there? How does it kind of work there?
not really. I mean, I do now have like a link with one of the private schools in Bratislava. Their kids come, their years 4, 5, and 6 kids come in like May time for a 6 week PE course. So this year we had 36 kids come down to the golf course every week for 6 weeks,
Okay.
which is great. Also, as well, a local kindergarten. But really, it started to build up. I guess it's just kind of word of mouth, really. Um, it started November 2017. So we'd done the outdoor season. We moved back inside into the indoor driving range, and we hosted like an open day where people could just come in, see the driving range, practice, get some tips from the pro, whatever. And there were a few parents came in with kids. They're like, "Do you have any kids coaching?" I was like, "Well, that's actually something that we could probably do." I wasn't so busy at the time, so it's like, "Well, I'm good. I feel like I'm good at this. I've had success doing it in the past.
Hmm.
Why not do it again?" It started very small, twice a week, and I had like four kids in the group. Now I coach every single day. I've got kids groups. At least 2 hours per day. So that's 8 groups that are per week that are filled. Um, and which maybe doesn't sound a lot to people working in the UK, but there's only 8,000 golfers in the entire country here.
Yeah.
So it's not like you've got hundreds of kids knocking at the door to come in.
Mhm.
So actually, getting kids is difficult, and then keeping them is really important because you're not going to have that relatively high maybe churn
Turnover.
through
Yeah.
rate, that you might get in the UK.
Mhm. Going back to something you said right at the start when you had your first ever golf lesson and the pro tried to change your grip, that's obviously left quite something you remember quite vividly.
Oh
It's
yeah, it's like
important.
25 years ago.
Yeah, and that's still at the forefront of your mind when you very first start. Did it put you? Well, obviously put you off having golf lessons at that time, then,
Yep.
didn't it? You just
Mm-hmm.
went straight out to playing.
Yeah.
Again, it's probably important to say to people that you don't have to. We get kids coming to us that are gripping it traditionally. Class is gripping it quite poorly, but if they're enjoying it, getting the ball up and away, at that very early age, there's no need to really change that straight away. Is there? Particularly if you're having some form of success in doing and hitting some nice shots with it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And this was the thing. It was very much just done on this guy's preference because that's what he liked people to do. And what I missed out as well is that, and I said 25 years ago, I remember this so vividly. We did like a group thing at the end where he got everybody to hit shots in front of people. He's like, well, and we've got Tom here, he's quite a good player, he can hit it. And we've just made this change to the grip. And I just couldn't, in front of everybody, just couldn't get the ball up in the air.
Yes, impact put you off, didn't it? Absolutely.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, like you say, you see all kinds of weird and wonderful varieties of grip from kids, some of which they make work. Now, eventually, there will come a point where you're going to want to probably move them to something that's a little bit more standard, whatever that means. But if you've got a 6-year-old that plays with a split grip because the club is a little bit too heavy, you put the hands together and then they can't hit it, they can't control the club. Well, why change it?
Mhm.
If they're having success with the hands a little bit apart, and I would say just over time, just edge the hands closer, and as they get bigger and stronger, just get the hands closer and closer and closer together, and eventually they'll be where they need to be, or where you would want them to be in terms of grip. But for a 5, 6-year-old, a golf club is pretty heavy, especially when it goes up behind the head on the way back.
Absolutely. Definitely. Absolutely right. It's changing it at the right time, not imparting your own. We've all got biases, haven't we? And it's trying to stay away from that as much as you possibly can, especially in the all period, really. Everybody's different, every child different. Yeah, it's not for us to lean on
Yeah,
what feels right sometimes. Definitely not.
and you're right. Everyone, of course, has their own bias, and everybody's going to be influenced by their experiences in the past. And obviously, I've been influenced by how I was coached in the past, both positively and negatively. I had some negative coaching experiences, but then when I started having lessons again when I was 17. I had some very positive, experiences, and I was very the guy that I worked with John. He really helped me. He really helped me a lot. He
Yeah,
gave me a lot of confidence that I could be a better player, and most importantly, he gave me the opportunities. Now, looking back, to go and coach, and that's ultimately led me to where I am now.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, it is important to say to people you had a negative experience, but it doesn't mean that you get next golf lesson with someone else is going to provide the same
Yeah,
negative experience. It's good to yeah, it's good to do that. So what is your 8 groups a week then? What does your kind of academy look like? Have you a couple of them sort of real grassroots beginners and progress up to more
yeah.
advanced
So
things? How do
so
you
got
work it?
got got really everything as much as possible. Try to fit kids relatively ability wise.
Mhm.
But it's not always easy, as you know, because kids have loads of other activities that they do, and they might only be able to come on a certain day. So as best as we can, we try
Yeah,
and fit them into those groups. I was chatting to one of our clients is a former footballer, and his son now plays football. And we're saying it's very different in football. It's like if somebody wants to play for a youth team and they're told training is this day, this day, this day at this time, they go, oh, I can't make it. They can turn around and go, well, you'll have to go and play for somebody else then, because they've got hundreds of other kids who will be able to make it at that time.
yeah,
But I don't know maybe how it is in the UK, maybe somewhat similar, but definitely here, because we don't have a ton of kids. We have to be a little bit more flexible in,
mhm,
because it's
mhm.
better to have them than to not have them. Yeah, and then we go all the way through. We also have here, there's like a centrally funded, it's like a talented youth program. So if players make a handicap criteria limit, then the club actually gets funding. They get free membership. I think they get money back from their competition entry fees. They basically end up playing for the club team. So those kids, they do all train together. Nobody else can join that group unless they're actually in that program.
That's
Um,
interesting, and that's sort of centrally funded as well.
yeah,
That's really
yeah.
good.
So yeah, so that's good. And then I do also I will teach. I would say I will teach anybody who wants to improve at golf. So mostly kids, but also adults as well. And then also get some older kids as well, who then transfer on to doing more individual lessons rather than group lessons. Because I think for by the time a lot of kids get to maybe 14, 15, 16, they would benefit more from having a little bit
Absolutely.
more of coach's attention.
Mhm.
Not that there isn't value in group training, depending on how you structure it, but when they start to get to that age, maybe some technical things start to become a little bit more important, and so they need a little bit more focus from
Yeah,
the
individual
coach at that
support,
age.
definitely, definitely. Um, so you say there's about 8,000 golfers in the country at the moment.
Yeah.
Is there kind of a target? Are, are there other professionals like yourself from the UK, other countries that have kind of started growing the game? Obviously, it's
So
grown a lot significantly, but
it's interesting. So I would say most golf coaches here are like me. They are like independent contractors at golf clubs,
yeah,
not employed by the golf club. So of course, those people are always going to do what is best for them and best for business, not necessarily what is best for the club that they coach at in terms
yeah,
of you know recruiting and retaining new golfers. Now, from my perspective, now having been here 7 years, I definitely, and at the same golf club now for 4 years, definitely see more new people coming through. You know how it is. People are creatures of habit, aren't they? So you see the same people at the same time every week when they come to practice, and then you see more and more new people coming through. So anecdotally, I would say yes, definitely more coming through. Um, I think probably also more kids, more opportunities for kids as well. So they have here, uh, they have a US kids tour here as well.
okay,
They also have the Slovak Golf Association organizes tournaments, but that's probably more focused to better kids, I would
yeah,
say. And one of the probably the biggest improvements that we made last year was we launched our own series of tournaments as well. So my rationale behind that was I had a lot of kids who would come to training, but if the parents or grandparents or someone was not a golfer, they never played on the golf course.
Yeah, yeah, we
So they would
find
come
that.
to
Yeah,
they would come to training once a week, never play on the golf course, and it's from their perspective, it's almost like they don't understand why they're doing the training that they're doing. Because if you never play on the course, it doesn't make sense as to why
yeah,
you would do the actual
absolutely,
training.
absolutely.
So we actually, with the support of the club, we've now got a measured course of orange tees which start down the fairway. Um, the par fours are like 150, 160 meters. But for the kids under 10, they can change their handicap playing on that course,
Okay.
which is great. And then they can then progress back onto red tees, and because we got red, blue, yellow, white, all the way back to black.
Bit of everything.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's really pleasing to see that a lot of the kids now see themselves, I think, much more as golfers now. They're kind of the ones who want to take it more seriously. They're focused on how they perform in those tournaments, and that gives them a little bit better focus in the training as well.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we do it as a league format. So this year we've got 12. It's only 9 holes on a Sunday afternoon. Got 12 tournaments throughout the year. We run there's first, second, and third net and first gross prize each tournament, and then also overall prizes. So then we'll take the best 5 scores from the 12, and then we have a first, second, and third overall at the end of the year. Um, we've had a pretty good turnout for that. I think each year we've had probably roughly about 20 kids register, which again, by UK standards, that's not so many, I guess, but for Slovak standards is pretty good.
Absolutely, and that'll you've built a structure, and it gives people, gives parents, they kind of know the pathway that their kids are going to go down. I think for a lot of people, they do the lessons, and it's difficult to kind of show people a pathway. But if you're running competitions, you can get them on the golf course. Keeps them longer as well at the end of the day, because a lot of people, especially in the UK, if they're just doing coaching, they want to get out on the golf course. They might have to go elsewhere for that if there's not that structure in place.
Yeah, yeah.
Where if you've got that all built there, it keeps people there for longer, and it gives people the stepping stone to go from the range to the golf course, just getting out there playing amongst themselves, and then, as you say, competitively on a Sunday or semi-competitively on a Sunday. It's a good way of doing it, definitely.
And I think for anyone setting up a junior program, obviously it may be a little bit daunting to think about all the things you might want to do. But if you just do a little bit, a little bit at a time, every year, just try and add a little bit to what you offer, then you will get there in the end.
Yeah,
It's
I think a lot of people have it in their head, don't they? I want to do this, I want to do everything, but yeah, you've got to have a clear, not necessarily a clear plan, but as you say, don't roll out too much too early. Do what you're comfortable with, and then, right, what can I do next year? What can I do next year? Start planning sort of your summer out, or what you want your spring and summer to look like at this sort of time of the year, September, October. So you've got things to actually people to look forward to as well, instead of going, oh, it's summer now. What am I trying to do? I've had it organised for a while. People know about it. Starts building a little bit of traction.
Yeah, because we have kids come to summer camps. We only do two. We do two full weeks in the summer, and we've now had, we're obviously able to fill a lot of those spaces with kids that come to training, but we also get kids that come from other clubs that have come year on year now. So they finish 1 year and they say, okay, well, we'll see you next year.
Hmm.
They enjoy it so much, and some of these kids are also kids that maybe only really play in the summertime, when they're with grandparents, because grandparents play, parents are at work, so summertime is golf time, and 2 of those weeks they come and spend with us at the golf camp, and it's that good repeat business. I think when people come back year on year is a good sign.
Absolutely right. Yeah, absolutely it is. You're doing a good job when you're getting people coming back again. You said earlier about having to move inside. is that does that happen all? Like, forgive me if I'm a little bit wet behind the ears, but do you have poor weather there for a certain period and you can't do stuff outside, or?
It's funny. It's probably getting the weather is getting better. The winters, I would say, are becoming more and more like UK winters, a little bit warmer and a little bit wetter, but still not very nice. Like you wouldn't want to be outside.
Mhm.
And I think like Slovak people are not used to being out playing outside. I get when we come back outside in April, if the weather forecast is like 15 degrees, parents will be messaging in the morning saying,
Push it
"Oh,
on.
are we changing the training inside?" I'm like, no, like they can put a coat on, they'll be okay. They're not gonna melt even if it rains a little bit. And then I see friends and colleagues back in the UK and they're still outside when it's 2 degrees and kids are still playing outside. So it's a little bit of like a mentality thing. But the driving range we have inside is basically we've got five mats to hit from. It hit about 12 meters or so before the ball hits the net and drops down. So we can hit in there because I've got flight scope, I've got the Garmin R10 in there. We can chip in there. There's a little space for putting as well. So although it's not maybe perfect, it's good because it allows us to continue all year round with the group training.
Does that I know you say you've got a flight scope, so you can see that you'll be able to see the ball fly on there. But does that change the way that you deliver your coaching? Is it more, would it be more, I mean, just looking at my experiences in COVID when we had people doing kind of setting up their own like ranges hitting into sort of dust sheets in the garden, they obviously couldn't see the flight and they were more inclined to actually work a bit more on their technique because that was all they could actually do as opposed to, oh God, the ball's gone way left. Why has that happened?
Yeah,
Do you find it differs a bit indoors?
yes. And I actually think moving indoors has potential benefit as well, especially for not so much for like the little kids because they're not so focused on technique, but
Yeah.
for some of the older kids and also adult clients, it's actually the perfect time to to make a change to the technique when you can't really see what you only see 10 meters of the ball flight before it drops down unless I've got the flight scope on and I can always turn that off. I can always turn the screen off so they can't see where the ball is going so
It
they can
makes them
focus
more.
a little
It
bit more.
makes them more movement focused, doesn't it? Instead of
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
process focused instead of outcome focused, which I
yeah,
get
yeah.
bet. Do you find that people accelerate more doing that as well, and kids, as opposed to doing it all outside?
Potentially, and the other good thing I think inside is just the pure volume of like full swings, especially that kids can make inside. Because there's not much else we can do now. So I would say probably in terms of my overall structure for the year, we do way more full swing stuff inside, and when we come outside, we do way more short game and putting things
It all
which I
gives you
think
a nice
works. Per-
structure, doesn't it?
which I
Yeah,
think I think it works
absolutely.
perfectly because you get that learning to play the game outside and learning to swing the club a little bit better inside.
Yeah, that's great.
Um,
Actually, so you're driven by the weather conditions, but it kind of sets a nice little structure for you in that way, doesn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, definitely, definitely. Obviously, it would be probably great to be able to be outside all year round, but then actually to have that little break from any kind of competitive golf for we'd go inside in November and come back outside in April time, so 5 months inside of no competitive golf and just a chance to focus on getting better is
That's one thing
actually
I think
is
we
actually
struggle with
beneficial.
in the UK. We've got indoor simulators, studios, etc. But to have actually a range where you could get people hitting multiple shots, we haven't really got that. And I know a lot of people I've spoken to kind of struggle to get their stuff going all year round because they haven't got covered bays, covered areas. They find it difficult. So I see that's definitely a good way of being able to keep you going all year round.
Yeah, and like we don't have a simulator there, which is also maybe good because you can only I see people, you've got to make the best of what you've got.
Mhm.
But you see people coaching kids in a simulator, and like four kids have to sit there while one kid is hitting, and then they have to take turns. Whereas we've got five of them can be hitting all at the same time, so it can
Exactly. So
keep
if you've
them
got
we keep
10,
them
it's all
much more
right, isn't it? You've
active.
only got one person. Exactly right. You've only got one person potentially waiting, if not none. That's really good.
Yeah, well, in terms of group size, purposely try and keep group sizes like a little bit smaller. Um, I I suppose, positioned ourselves as somewhat of a premium product in terms of pricing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and with that comes small group sizes. But what I've done over time is, rather than increasing the price that we charge per month, is just sneaking up the group size just a little bit. So it's gone from, when we very first started, it was like, well, maximum four, and then it was kind of like, well, okay, I can cope with four. Then it's five, and now really the absolute maximum is six. I would never go like any more than six in a group. But also that depends on the kids as well, because if you've got kids that can play and are a little bit older and will be safer, you could deal with more kids in
yeah.
in the group.
Hmm.
Obviously, if you've got little kids, you're probably going to want to maybe have less in the group, or maybe have somebody else help you with the coaching from a safety point of view.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Well, coming to the end then, what's next for kind of you? What's the plan for? Obviously, have you moved in? So you're still outside. Sorry, you are
Still,
still outside because I can
still,
see you
yeah. Do you know what?
outside.
It's still, it's like 32 degrees here still.
When does it start to get chilly? Sort of October time, did you
Well,
say?
next week, by the looks of it, it's going to drop
Okay.
like 10 degrees next week. So, yeah, but it's just been the last 2 months have just been unbelievable. It's like unbearable. People see me. I'm so tanned. People see me and they're like, "Oh, have you been somewhere nice on holiday?" I'm like, no, I've just been out on the range for the last 2 months, and there's, when it's 35 degrees every day for 2 months, you're going to get a pretty good tan.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what's coming up for you then going forwards, maybe into sort of back end of this year, 2025? Anything growth wise for your academy?
I just think we just want to keep doing the same things. Just try and make each, maybe do some tweaks to what we deliver in the sessions in terms of the games and the drills and the activities that we do. I mean, if you see on my Instagram, on the social media there, you'll see the kind of style of kind of games that we do. I think that the biggest thing here, being such a small golfing community, is word of mouth. I think that's the biggest way to grow here. And I think if you just doing keep doing a good job, then some of the kids now, they go play tournaments, and when they go play, they're not only representing themselves in the club, but they're also representing me. And people do ask the question of like, "Oh, who are you being coached by?" And like I say, because it's such a small community, people do know.
Yeah.
So it's gone over the last 7 years. It's been a bit of a, reflecting back, maybe a bit of a slow burner over those 7 years, but it's just year on year, it's just picked up traction, and yeah, but just keep going.
Constantly built. Yeah. Again, that's important to say for people. You don't always have to reinvent the wheel. If you've got something that's working, yes, you try and adapt it as you go, and you've added tournaments and you've added competition play, but yeah, do your bread and butter well, and it keeps you, and you can start stranding out to other things if you want to, but make sure your bread and
Yeah,
butter is good.
and I think, like, look at what other coaches are doing on social media, and draw some influence from that. Some of it you might look at it and think, well, that's not really for me, and I don't really understand that. But you'll always find something in
Definitely,
what other people do. Um,
definitely.
and, and I would say to other coaches, don't be afraid to reach out to people if you see somebody that's doing something that you really like. Um, I don't know if you saw in this month's PGA magazine. It looks like the PGA are now going to do like almost like a working group for people involved in junior golf.
Mhm. Yep,
So that opportunity to kind of like collaborate and share ideas can only be a positive for everyone.
absolutely, absolutely. We've got to work together, grow the game together, whether we're 1,000 miles, a few thousand miles away, or on each other's doorsteps. Exactly right. You've got to help each other out. I think a lot of people are. I think it's becoming more reciprocal now. People want to help each other a bit more than ever, maybe ever used to. Golf used to be very much a closed shop. I'll do it my way, or I'm not sending my people to them. You get a lot of people now that go somewhere for putting, somewhere for short game, somewhere for their long game. it's definitely. I think it's definitely changed over the last 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I just think generally that the more kids we get involved in the game, then everyone's a winner.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely right.
because you can't coach everybody, can you? As a
No,
coach, it's
no.
like some kids will move on to other coaches. They'll start with you. Maybe they'll move club, and then they go to somebody else. But as long as I think sometimes when people get upset about those things is maybe because they're not so busy. So they worry that, of course, if they lose somebody, there would be nobody else to fill
The
their
slot.
place.
Yeah.
But if you've got a successful program, it's just a natural thing that some people will move on, but then some new ones will come through, and the cycle will just
Keep
continue
continuing.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the end, then golf is the real winner.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've got people in the game. Well, thank you very much for your time, Tom. I'll let you get back to your day. I'm sure you've got some lessons in the sun that you're looking forward to doing. And we'll
Yeah,
keep in touch. And I'll get this cropped up, get this out probably the week after next. Always come out on Thursday. And yeah, I'll tag you in a few bits with it, and we'll hopefully get a few views. And I'm sure people will find it really beneficial, particularly
yeah,
those looking
perfect.
to
Do you know
move
what I
further
think
afield.
would be kind of really nice going forwards is if could somehow arrange for maybe multiple people to jump on at the same time.
That would be
And if
really
it was
good.
if it was possible to like have like a general, like a more specific topic within junior golf, and have maybe a little bit more of a kind of a debate. And I think especially for PGA trainees, I know from what I see, one of your big things is trying to encourage people into going seeing junior golf as being a career option.
Absolutely. That's a
And
good
I
shout.
think
We'll
that
do that.
I think the more because I do marking for golf coaching and sports science for PGA as well, and there's not a huge amount of coverage on junior golf in those modules. So for any trainees that are interested, it would be good for them to have some reference material and also people to maybe reach out to